The Republic of Kazakhstan, which gained independence from the former Soviet Empire in 1991, is the world's largest landlocked country. Officially, Kazakhstan has freedom of religion, and that's what they want to present to the outside world. However, the country is ruled by a very controlling and oppressive government. State restrictions on religious communities are likely to increase with the new religion law amendments, and that will make it even more difficult for Christians. The Orthodox Church is perceived as the religion of the Russians, but face little or no persecution, while the evangelical churches, especially the active ones, those who spread the gospel, are constantly being watched, harassed, and infiltrated.
It's very difficult for the churches because the police put their people into the churches and act like believers. Then they start to trump up charges against the church, false charges. They say there are things going on that aren't actually taking place, and they bring persecution against the church.
Pastor David and his wife Tamara, not their real names, have pastored for almost 10 years in Kazakhstan. Due to the dangers and threats they are facing in the country, we have hidden their identities and altered their voices. David says one of the ways the evangelical church is being harassed is through the many humanitarian ministries that have been started in the country by Christians, like helping the homeless or those addicted to drugs and alcohol. Many of those have come to the centers and have been set free from their addictions and have become followers of Christ and productive citizens. Kazakhstan is a nation plagued with social problems.
Yeah, it's very difficult for those pastors who have rehab centers. The police have people in the rehab centers. They plant drugs and then close them down very quickly. The government doesn't like what they call the Protestant church. They don't like people coming to the Lord. But what they sometimes don't realize is that people become honest and their hearts become tender. They become kinder people, and they could become more useful to the government. They also believe this religion is from America, and that the people are becoming American.
Pastor David travels to many villages to preach the gospel and is constantly watched and followed. He's become used to this kind of scrutiny. Many of his fellow pastors and believers have been arrested and put in prison for their Christian work.
There are many that we know, and even before this current persecution began, they had already served jail time and have gone through this.
The threat to the evangelical church is not only from an oppressive government who view them as dangerous, but also from militant Muslims who are determined to turn Kazakhstan into an Islamic nation. Over half the population is considered Muslim. Several Muslim countries, including Saudi Arabia, have invested huge amounts of money to send Muslim missionaries to Kazakhstan. Hundreds of mosques have been built since the collapse of the former Soviet Union.
These people who have started the persecution on the church, they are trying to prove that the Bible is not true and have created chaos.
While he prays for the church in Kazakhstan, Pastor David expects the militant Muslims to target the evangelical church in the days ahead.
If Islam takes over more and more, there will be more and more believers sitting in jails.
The threats and harassment does take its toll on the believers.
You come to the church and have a wonderful presence of God, and then all of a sudden, the police come and surround the building and kick everyone out of it.
Some people are very scared. Some people are standing strong in their faith, realizing this is a time when they can't be doubting in what they believe. The church as a whole is right at the moment just trying to continue on the way they were and just asking God what they should do for the future.
We teach what it says in the Bible, and that Jesus says, I was persecuted, and you'll be persecuted. I was beaten, and you'll be beaten. And the people know there will be suffering for Jesus.
Even now, despite the persecution, there's people who are still hungry, who want the truth. They've been seeking for something, and they've not found it. And many of them realize they find it when they come to Christ.
David and Tamara have children, and they could easily go to the safety of another country. But they choose to stay.
We could raise our kids someplace else, but for now, this is where God wants us to be. And our children have a deep understanding that these are people who seriously need the Lord, and we need to reach out to them.